Hi guys, this is Dave with DC Productions based out of Louisville, Kentucky, and we do a range of events from everything from the smallest talking head things to outdoor shows for 20, 30, 40,000 people at times. And we're here today to talk about how we keep our KF850s in working order for all these events. And let's get started on how we get these things together and keep them rolling. And today what we're going to do with this cabinet is replace the 15-inch speaker and the 10-inch speaker. The originals are made by B&C, which are great speakers, don't get me wrong here, but they're a little hard to get a hold of sometimes and they can be a little pricey. But fortunately today we have some of these Eminence replacements that are much more easy to get a hold of, and they're designed for this series of box, and they, in my opinion, work great. And let's get started putting some in. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get this grill out of the way, which has a bunch of screws that go around. We're already down to the last couple. Okay, and next you're going to want to remove this phase plug just for clearance issues later, which we'll address a little bit later. But mainly what it is there are so many different versions of these cabinets that even some of the replacement drivers from B&C will still hit something in the back of this. So we'll show you how to modify that in a little bit. What you need is a very long Phillips screwdriver and a little patience, and we got 4 screws all the way in the back right here. Okay, let's get started with the 15-inch driver. And to get the old one out, the first thing you're going to need to do is loosen up the bolts on the back of the cabinet. You'll have 10 7/16. Then you're going to want to take one of these handles out. It doesn't matter, either side will work, but you're going to have to take one out. Okay, and after removal of the handle and the back plate, you're going to want to get out all of this packing material here and keep that in a safe place because you're going to want to put it back in. Now that we have the access panel off, it reminds me that EAW has used a couple of different speaker manufacturers over the years. This one happens to be an RCF. First, you're going to want to disconnect your leads. Keep in note which one is your hot and which is your negative, which in most cases the blue will be your positive and the black will be your negative. We're just going to hang those to the side to kind of keep them out of the way, or not. And then you're going to want a 3/16 hex head, and you will just start by removing the 4 bolts holding the speaker in. Here's the trickiest part of this whole operation, and why we took a handle out. You're going to want to roll this back a little bit, and then you're going to want to get this magnet up over this hole over here. And then the driver comes out nice and neatly. And here's our new driver that we'll be installing today. It's the Eminence KF850. And one thing you're going to want to take note of is the fact that your screws originally, the ones that come in the stock with the stock driver, are a little bit longer than these. So you're either going to want to build them up with washers or replace them. We chose to replace them. They're 1/4-20, 1 1/4 inch. If that helps you any. Now these replacements from Eminence, they feature fast-on tabs, which are a little different than the stock, but not a problem. It's 2 ways of hooking them up. We chose to solder ours, just to make sure that you also remember which one is your positive and which are your negative, which are clearly marked there and there. And now we just want to replace the dampening material here, which just goes around your speaker. Kind of evenly there, maybe a little more in the corners if you feel so inclined. And the next stage will be replacing the handle. Okay, now let's take a look at replacing the 10-inch driver here, which luckily the handles does not have to come off on this one. And we'll start with just getting our back panel off. And here's what we'll be installing today. It's the KF850, which has screw-on terminals for your leads there. One other thing that makes these great replacement drivers is the 15 and the 10-inch speaker have the inverted dust cover, which there's not much room in here, especially with the phase plug in these cabinets on the 10-inch driver. So that keeps you from making any contact or stuff you really do not want going on inside of there. Here's one thing you do want to watch out for while putting the 10 in though, is to make sure you do not smack the speaker into any of this in here, which could give you bigger problems in the future. And then we will put our dampening material back in, just as the 15. Just go around your driver, try to cover all sides. Ready for the backing panel on this one. Here's our phase plug that we took out prior to putting our drivers in. And then we have one next to it that is a modified version for our clearance issues. Now, most of the drivers that you end up getting, even the stock B and C ones, are gonna have a problem with hitting the original phase plug in its natural configuration. Now, yours may not look like this due to all the variances in these boxes, but here's how to check for clearance if you have one that sticks out pretty far. If you have at least a 1/4 inch from this to the driver, you're going to be okay. What I've done is put up gaff tape on this side, sticking out a 1/4 inch, and then for those that don't have that available, you can also use a piece of cardboard with any kind of tape holding it on there. So what you want to do is slide the phase plug back into its natural position, and if you can hear that, that is the tape and the cardboard rubbing onto the speaker. And when you pull this out, you can also see that the cardboard's moved back a little bit. And that means that we will have to modify this just for safety reasons for our drivers. Now we have our newly modified phase plug here. The only thing you might want to do is, as I've done there, is put a couple of drywall screws into there just to make sure that this holds on for the rest of the life of the cabinet. Then it's just a matter of reinstalling the phase plug, which is 4 Phillips head screws, 1 in each corner. Now for our last step of this process, and that is to reinstall our grill. Here we have our finished cabinet, which is all reloaded and ready to go. We've listened to it and checked it out, and everything sounds fantastic. Hopefully this helps any of you guys that need to replace drivers in yours, and now you know a couple options of where to get them and everything. So in closing, Dave with DC Productions. Have a good one.